Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Have you got my email regarding the additional session on next Friday? Okay. So we are going to take an additional session on next Friday at 10:30. And in our previous session, I thought that we had a class. We have a class on 9th. Basically, we don't have any class on 9th because the midweek is going to be started on 9th. So before the mid, we have two session. On Friday is one, and the next Monday is another one. So we'll try to cover up everything by these two sessions. Good afternoon, sir. So can you remember what was the topics we are discussing in the last session? Adjusting entries. Can you help me to remind me why do you need the adjusting entries? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Mashur, can you send me your Jisut email ID? I haven't got your Jisut email ID. It's better if you email me. All right. So what query do you have regarding it? Mid syllabus, if you notice to the course outline, you can see that it's been given up to chapter 4. The uh, mid contents will be covered. So it's from chapter 1 to chapter 4. Yeah. Can anyone help him regarding that? Whether the mid will be online or offline?
Sir, offline.
Offline.
2 to 5 p.m.
Yeah. It will be even it's given 2 to 5 p.m. 3 hours, but it will not be a 3 hours exam. It will be lower than that. Maybe 1.5 or 2 hours, something like that. Max 1.5 so far, I think. So it will be physical. You have to attend physically and have to attend on the exam. It will be held on our campus on next Thursday
Sir,
probably.
what week will we be covering on bugs for the midterm?
Up to next week.
Which is week
Week
5.
5, 6 running, 6 running probably. We are in the 10th. Yeah, this is the 5th week. Then 6th week running. 5.5 basically. Any other query? All right. You'll get an instruction maybe at the beginning of the next week. So the questions pattern and other directions will be given on that email. All right. So we are discussing regarding the adjusting entries. Can anyone help me? Why do you need the adjusting entries? Why do we need to do the adjustment? Anyone?
Sir, convert cash.
Mhm. Considering the equal basis for a specific time period, what was the actual revenues, expenses, assets, and liabilities? To find out that amounts of that accounts, sometimes we may need to do the adjustment after preparing the trial balance and before preparing the financial statements. This is why we have to do the adjustment. And what is the first things we need to identify before doing the adjustment or for doing the adjustment?
sir the period?
Accounting period. Exactly, accounting period. So the first things we need to find out regarding any problem or whenever we are handling the adjusting issues of an organization is to find out the accounting period. So you are supposed to do some adjustments for a problem. and this is basically related to Lugan's consulting firm. They have started their consulting firm on May 1, and the trial balance for May 31st is given here. So considering this issue, what is the accounting period, or what is the duration of accounting period?
1 year.
Is it 1 year? Sorry, I haven't shared my screen. They mentioned that they have started their consulting business on May 1, and they have prepared a trial balance for May 31st. So the duration of accounting period, 1 month. If nothing mentioned or if no clue is been given, then we'll assume that the duration of accounting period is 1 year. Basically, generally, when the organization prepare the statement or financial statement, they actually prepare financial statement or generally prepare financial statement for a year. So this is the basic information or basic or general trial balance information has been given here. And before preparing the financial statement, they mentioned that there are some additional information that need to be considered before preparing the financial statement. Now, you are asked to try to do the adjustment for the information that has been given here. And now we are going to cross check this and we'll discuss about the different problems you may face or you are facing. So, the first one, they mentioned that supplies, 900 of supplies have been used during the month. Is there any supplies account here?
Yes, sir.
There is a supplies account. So how much is the amount is? How much the amount is? Supplies?
Sir, 900.
1900. In the trial balance, there is a supplies account with an amount of 1900. That means whenever they purchase the supply, they had supplies on hand 1900. Now they mention that 900 of supplies have been used during the month. So supplies, whenever they purchase, they had supplies of 1900. Now they mention supplies unused, on hand or unused, the same thing. Hand is how much? 900. This
So they
nine,
were used.
yeah, this 1900 is recorded into the trial balance. It means this is a supplies account. It means it's an asset, and this asset means unused. So initially, when they purchased the supplies, they recorded as an asset or unused portion of $1900. Now, at the end of 31st May, they found that their unused portion is not $1900 yet. It is now 900, and they suggest you to make the necessary adjustment for that. Exactly, for us. So they suggest you to make the necessary adjustment for that. So how can we make the adjustment of this issue?
Subtract 900 from 1900.
Okay, that will be, we have to deduct,
That
then
will
will
be 1.
1000. Supplies will be reduced by, need to be reduced by
1,000, sir.
1000. Okay, excellent. And what will happen for this 1000? Can I consider it is actually used? It will be considered as an expense. What will be the title of the expense?
Like, sir,
Supplies expense.
I have a question, sir. In the
Yes.
question, they write 900 of supplies have been used.
Oh, sorry. I misunderstood this. So sorry, sir. It's my mistake. I thought so. 900 of supplies have been used. So it should be 900. How much remains? 1000 remains. It's my mistake. Sorry. Thanks for addressing me. So supplies reduced by 900. So 900 is basically being considered as used, and it remains 1000. So that should be the part of the adjustment. So what should be the journal entry?
Like expense take debit
Supplies expense debit by 900, supplies credit by 900. Excellent. Do you all agree with that? Any confusion? All right, cool. So this is how we have to make the adjustment for this issue.
So 1000 amount has been
This 1000, yep. What is the remaining value of the supplies? 1000. So this is the journal you have made. Okay, this is the journal you have made. After the journals, where we need to transfer this information? What is the next step of the journal?
laser.
Laser. So let's do it now. Then it will be clear to you. So we have made these journals. We have made these journals into the adjusting entry, and after doing the journals we have to transfer it to the ledger. So we have to create ledger account. One is for supplies, another one is for supplies expense. We have to follow the same format: date, particular, reference, debit, credit, balance. Sorry, sir.
What is the meaning of supply systems?
What does it mean by supplies?
Asset.
Okay, it's an asset, or definitely it's an asset. So what types of assets are these? Stationaries, different stationaries, tools. These are the examples of supplies. So when you used it, that means that you have consumed it. There is no remaining that part of assets or stationaries or tools that is been considered as an expense. What was your query basically? Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So we have seen that this is how we have to make the adjustment, and after doing the adjustments we know that it's a journal, and after doing the journals we have to transfer it to the ledger. So we have created two accounts. One is supplies, one is supplies expense. Now there is an already we have a supplies account into the trial balance with a 1900 balance. Now whenever we are transferring that information to the supplies account on May 31st, there is a balance of 1900 debit balance. Now we are transferring that information from the journal. Supplies was credited by 900 on May 31st. Supplies was credited by supplies expense by 900. So what remains?
Thousands.
1000. Have you got this thousands now? We had the query how what should we do with that 1000 in our calculation? This 1000. It is actually automatically being found when you prepare the are automatically been adjusted and shows the balance of supplies of 1000 when you transfer this adjusted information to the ledger. Okay, and for the supplies expense there was no supplies expense account. We'll create it newly. 31st May supplies was debited by 900, so there will be a balance of 900. So this is how after the adjustment we'll transfer this information into the ledger. So this was regarding the supplies. Secondly, utilities expense incurred but not paid on May 31st.
Sir, can we go to the ledger again, the second part?
Sure.
Because the supplies expense box.
Yeah. Here it is. The full one.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Second one. Utilities expense incurred but not paid.
Sir, utilities expense debit,
Mm-hmm.
accounts payable credit.
Okay. Thank you. Basically, it's general journal. So we have not recorded it before. Now we are supposed to record it.
Sir, I
Utilities.
have a question, journal
Yeah.
related.
Okay.
Sir,
Expense. Let me finish this one.
okay, sorry, sir.
250. No, it's no, it's accounts payable. Credit by 250. All right. I have a query here, but before that, I want to move to you. Yeah.
Sir, if question write that notes payable, sir,
Hmm.
that time, sir, should I write accounts payable or notes payable?
Notes payable. If they directly mention it, notes payable, then we definitely have to follow their direction to
Sir,
write
if
down.
they said that they sell a product 10%, note,
Hmm.
that means, sir, what would be the journal?
If they sell something, they are not selling, they purchase something. That purchase account will be debit. If they purchase any asset, that assets will be debit. Notes payable will be credit.
Note payable, sir. The same thing I did in the quiz.
Hmm.
Just it deduct the
As I have mentioned in our earlier session as well, we are going to check all of these responses manually because bugs may not be able to read some uh, uh, words or numerical values with some comma, dollar sign, or capitalization issue into the writing down. So that's why we have to check all of your responses manually. Then we'll clarify or rectify all of those issues. Don't worry about it.
conflicts.
Don't
So
worry.
it
Don't.
will
Yeah.
save a lot of time.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
No worries. So utilities expense incurred but not paid is basically a general journal. Utilities expense debit, accounts payable credit. That's a correct journal. But in our last session, we mentioned something regarding this accounts payable. Can you remember?
Sir, it will be utilities
it,
payable.
it, it will be better to stay or to say utility payable. So this was our example. We paid salaries, we paid utility, we may have to pay for the rent. So if we all record it to the accounts payable, it will be difficult for us to find out what is our liability for salaries, utilities, rent, or for other issues. That's why it has been suggested to record with their own identity. It's not wrong if you record accounts payable, it's also correct, but it is better to write down with their own identity. So it's better to write down utilities payable instead of accounts payable. Third one, insurance policy is for 2 years. That means this organization have paid an insurance with some values, and it is being paid for 2 years. Let's see whether there is an insurance account or not. Is there an insurance account?
Yes, sir, there
Yes.
is.
There is a prepaid insurance with an amount of 3600. Prepaid insurance 3600. Now, can anyone help me to explain that scenario and do the adjustment? It has not been
It
mentioned
is 2 years, 3600 divided by 24 for each.
for each month. So for each month, the insurance amount will be 3600 divided by 24, 150. Okay, then what is the duration of our accounting period?
Month, sir.
1 month.
1 month. So do you think that after 1 month, the prepaid insurance value will be remain 3600?
No, sir.
No, it will be, is it this one?
3450.
3450. So in the trial balance, prepaid insurance has been recorded by 3600. We have to make it 3450. How can we make it?
I subtracted 150.
By subtracting 150 of prepaid insurance. And why we need to subtract 150? What happened with that 150?
But it
It's
has been consumed.
it has been consumed. And if it has been consumed, it has been considered as an expense. What should be the title of the expense?
Insurance expense.
Excellent.
Sir, I'm confused about the 3,450 part.
That should be our part of the adjustment. You are confused with the 3450 part. It is like that. Say for example, this prepaid insurance was paid on May 1. On May 31st, what should be the balance of prepaid insurance? It should not be 3600 yet, because you already consumed 1 month, isn't it? And the insurance for 1 month is 150. So if you consume $150 from this 3600, what will remain? 3450. So in the trial balance, prepaid insurance has been recorded by 3600. We have to make it 3450. And how can we make it? If we reduce prepaid insurance by 150. Because why you are reducing it? Because we already consumed 1 month's benefit. And whenever you are consuming benefits, it actually considered as an expense. That expense need to be recorded by reducing the value of prepaid insurance. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what should be the journal?
Insurance expense.
Hmm?
Prepaid insurance check.
Insurance expense debit by 150, credit by 150. Number 4, 400 of the balance in the unearned service revenue accounts remain unearned at the end of the month. Probably there is an unearned service revenue account in the trial balance that is with a value of 2000. There is an unearned service revenue account in the trial balance with a value of 2000. This unearned service revenue is what? What types of account?
It it is
Hmm,
Liability.
it's a liability.
liability. It's a liability. Okay, now let's see what they mentioned. That means in the trial balance, liability is recorded by 2000. Now they mentioned that out of this 2000, now 400 of the balance in the unearned service revenue account remains unearned. So it is not 2000 yet at the end of this month. On May 31, how much is the unearned service revenue?
460.
400. 400. They mentioned the 400 of the balance in the unearned service revenue account remains unearned. So what about the unearned service revenue? Out of that amount, 400 remains. Okay, you need to be careful with the language. If they mention 400 is been earned, that is a different issue. And but they mention 400 remained unearned. So on 31st May, it remains 400. So what actually happened? Unearned service revenue has been reduced by 1600. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So unearned service revenue has been reduced by 1600. But what happened with that 1600? Why your liability
Yes,
reduced?
I provide the service.
You provided service. And when you provide service, in accounting we called it, you have earned it. And it should be recorded as when you earn something, it is a revenue for you. So what should be the title of that account?
Service
Service
revenue.
revenue.
Service revenue. Service revenue. So we need to do the adjustment with these two. This liability will be reduced and revenue should be increased. Now tell me what should be the adjusting entry?
Unearned service revenue debit and service revenue credit.
Exactly. Unearned service revenue debit because if liability reduce, we have to debit it. 1600 and service revenue credited. This is the adjusting entry or adjusted journal entry for that situation. On 5th, they mentioned that on May 31st, it was actually Wednesday, and the employees are paid on Fridays. This consulting firm has two employees and who are paid $920 each for a 5-day work week. That means for each week they work for 5 days, and for 5 days individually they receive $920. And when they are being paid, they generally paid on Fridays. But we are in now Wednesdays on 31st May when we are planning to prepare our financial statement. So basically, their week starts on Monday. Saturday, Sunday is a holiday for them. No work, no payment. But they work Monday to Friday. When they work Monday to Friday, on Fridays, how much they are receiving? On Friday,
920.
920 each. Each of them will receive 920. But on May 31st, we are in Wednesday. Now the question is, whenever we are preparing our financial statements on May 31st, do you need to consider the services we have received so far from our employees? Because they already provided service on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Do you think that we have to, even though we are not paying them today, they will be paid on Friday? But do you think that whatever services we have received from our employees so far, that need to be considered when we prepare our financial statement on May 31st?
Yes.
Exactly. We have to. So what will be the per day salary? 184. 920 divided by 184. That means 184 for each person actually can claim that amount for providing service for these 3 days. Each person 184. So what should be the journal entry for recording these salaries? Is it a salary expense for them, for the organization? Salaries expense. Debit. And what should be credit?
Salary is payable.
Excellent.
Sir, when we consider Thursday?
We are not in Thursday yet. We are on Monday, on Wednesday. They will be paid on Thursday, but when we are working on Wednesday, we are planning to prepare our financial statement on Wednesday, and our objective is to find out how much actual expenses incurred up to this Wednesday and actual revenues up to that Wednesday. So that's why, even though we haven't paid them yet, we got the services for 3 days from them. That's why we have to consider as an expense for us, even though we are not paying them. And this is why we are recording. We are going to pay them later on. Is it okay?
So it's a good help, sir.
Sorry.
So it's a good news, sir.
Okay. So basically, they works for 5 days in a week, Monday to Friday, and they are paid on Fridays. And we are now on May 31st. It is an Wednesday. Now the question arises, we already got services from our employees for these 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They will be paid on Friday, but we are in Wednesday now. Should we consider their services when we are preparing our financial statement on Wednesday? That is the question. Do you think that we should consider their efforts, or how much, based on their efforts, how much we are supposed to pay? That amount should be considered when we are preparing our financial statement on May 31st or not? What do you think?
Or it should.
It should be.
Yes.
It should be, because in our last session we mentioned that our objective is to find out actual expense, actual liability, actual asset, actual revenue for that duration, even though you are not paying or you are not receiving cash. That's why we definitely have to consider their efforts they have made for us during that period. So these 3 days, even though we are not paying them now, they'll be paid on Friday. We have to consider it is an expense for the organization, or the organization is liable to pay that amount to the employees. So 184 per day for each employee, and for two employees for these 3 days, the amount will be 184 multiplies 2, that is 6, 1104. So this
Sir,
salary.
why should it be one?
So this is the salary of one employee. They mentioned that they have two employees, so second employees will be received same amount. If you add this 184 plus something something, then you'll find that it is basically, so if you add this for these two columns, or two rows basically, you'll find that the total is 1104. This,
And why it will be salary is payable?
because this is your employee, whatever you are paying to your employee for their efforts, it is known as salary. That's why salary expense. You have not paid it yet. You are going to pay it later on. That's why payable. Payable regarding what? Salaries. That's why salary payable. Okay.
we need to count those 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Yeah. For each day, salary is 184. For 3 days, salary is 552. There are two employees. 552 multiplies 2. That is 1104. That will be different. If you consider from Bangladesh perspective, that will start from Saturday or Sunday, whenever it starts. We may have to consider 6 days a week or 5 days a week. They are working. All right. Number six, regarding depreciation, I'll discuss later on. Number seven, invoice representing 700 of service performed during the month have not been recorded as of May 31. That means on May 31, you have got an invoice. It shows that you have not recorded this $1,700 services you already performed. It's very easy. What should be the journal? You accounts receivable, debit,
Salary,
service revenue,
service revenue.
service revenue. So this is how we'll make the adjustment.
So why I need to write 1700?
Isn't it 1700? They provided services of 1700.
Sir, why is it account receivable?
You provided service but yet not received cash. Are you expecting to receive cash? So if you are expecting to receive the cash in future, how should we record it? If you have to pay, accounts payable. If you are going to receive, sir,
Shouldn't it be revenue receivable?
we generally do not use this term revenue receivable. We generally use accounts receivable with the same meaning. Whatever you mean by the revenue receivable, it means the same thing.
Sir, they said that invoice still has been provided. Is that why we are categorizing it as account receivable?
Invoice means the slip or the document. It shows that we have, that means at the end of the accounting period, they were verifying that whether all their transaction has been recorded or not. And one of the most important part in accounting is that whatever you are going to record it, each of them must have the documents. The documents is the invoice. From with that invoice, they actually goes for the cross check, and after that cross checking, they found that this invoice was not been recorded. Now record it, and they have not received the cash yet. And this is why, because they provided service revenue account, and they haven't received the cash. They are expecting to receive cash in future, and we know in that case we have to record the accounts receivable. Is that okay?
Sir, they said that invoices representing 1700 of services have not been recorded
Yeah,
because they did not mention cash. Is that why we are recording
exactly,
it as account receivable?
exactly. We already mentioned before that if any transactions incurred in cash, they directly specify this thing, that it happens in cash. If nothing is specified regarding cash, we'll always assume it is on account or on credit. Okay.
Sir, I wanted to know the midterm syllabus.
We are discussing something else. We'll discuss about the meat and other issues after completing this discussion. Okay. So that's how we'll do the adjustment for these six entries. One things I haven't discussed, that is regarding depreciation. Any idea about the depreciation? Anyone?
Somewhere it's about
Hmm. It's not a loss. It's called expense. It's an expense for an organization. It is charged on the tangible fixed assets of the organization. And what does the tangible fixed asset? Tangible means you can touch it. It has physical existence. Fixed asset means it will provide benefits for long. It's a long term asset for the organization, and it is being charged on that types of asset. A depreciation method is used for charging depreciation. That is the basic things that we are supposed to follow when we are handling the depreciation. Let us discuss with an example. Say this organization have purchased a machine with a value of dollar 85,000. And one thing we should keep in mind whenever any organization purchase an asset, fixed asset such as, let us say some example. What might be the examples of the fixed asset? I have said machine.
Machinery, land, building, furniture,
Yep, land,
equipment.
building, furniture, etc. Thank you so much, sir. And depreciation is charged on that assets only, which value reduces with its consumption or use. If there is any assets whose value doesn't reduce, we do not charge depreciation on that types of fixed asset. Any example that it's a fixed asset, long term asset, tangible asset for the organization, but its value doesn't reduce over the time. Do you think that the value of machine may reduce if you use it or over the time?
Yes, sir.
Furniture,
Yes, sir.
building,
I guess no, sir. Land building to sir, bar, sir. Depreciation bar.
land. The value of land doesn't reduce. That's why we cannot charge depreciation on land, but the value of building may reduce over the time.
The campus expense, sir, like building sir, right,
Huh?
sir.
That you have
Expense can
constructed, say for example, you have constructed a building with 1 crore taka. Okay. Now, after 1 year, do you think that the value of that building will remain 1 crore taka? The materials you have used, if you consider from that perspective, not from land's perspective, the design of the building may be obsoleted. The materials you have used into the that will be depreciated as well. Whenever you are consuming the materials of the building, it's also depreciated, or the value of that materials also reduces. It's become obsoleted. It's become old fashioned, isn't it? Or the design or the architecture designs you have followed to construct that building, it can be old fashioned as well. In that case, do you think that the value of building will remain same or increase? If you buy a flat with 1 crore taka, can you sell it with the same value, or upper than that after 5 years or 10 years? No. The reason is that when with the time being, the value of that flats or that building is reduced over the time because of so many factors. That's why it said that we have to charge depreciation on such types of assets. So, for example, we have purchased a machine with a value of 85,000 taka. Whenever we buy any fixed asset or tangible fixed asset, one thing we should find it out, or we need to assume what might be the useful life of that asset. Let's assume the useful life of that asset is 5 years. Another thing we need to find out whether there is any salvage or residual value of that asset or not. Any idea what does the salvage value or residual value means? Anyone?
No, sir. The value is after 5 years.
Exactly. So you have purchased a machine with a $85,000. You expect that it can be used for 5 years. What can be the selling price of the asset of this asset after 5 years? That will be considered as a residual value. Let us assume the residual value or salvage value is $5,000. So this is the primary information we have. So whenever we are charging any depreciation, there are a couple of methods are here. Organization will decide which methods of the depreciation will be followed for that particular asset, and they have to follow it on a consistent basis. One of the simplest method is straight line method. Whenever you follow the straight line method of depreciation, and the formula of the depreciation by following the straight line method is cost price of the asset minus salvage value divided by useful life. That is the general formula is being used if no other formula is being mentioned. And cost minus salvage value, that is actually known as depreciable value. So how are you going to handle this asset over the 5 years? Year one, year two, it's better like that. First, we are going to charge depreciation. Okay, if this is the situation, the depreciation per year will be 85,000 minus 5,000 divided by 5. That is 16,000. So in year one, we purchased the asset at $85,000 and we have charged depreciation $16,000. Another account needs to be created that is called accumulated depreciation. What is accumulated depreciation? I'm explaining later on. And after the accumulated depreciation, we can find out book value of the asset on a particular day. So cost price remains same over the year. And if you follow the straight line method, each year depreciation value is same. If you follow this method, if you follow different method, the depreciation amount can differ. And the accumulated depreciation means the total amount of depreciation charged on this asset. On year one, how much is the depreciation amount charged in total? 16,000. On year two, what is the total amount of depreciation charged up to year two? 32,000. Three, at the end of year three, how much total depreciation charged? 48,000. 48,000. Like that, in after fourth year, we can find out total depreciation was charged 64,000. And after fifth year, we can find out that total depreciation has been charged 80,000. Now book value, what does the book value mean? Book value means the difference of cost and accumulated depreciation. That is, what is the remaining value of the asset? The value of the asset was 85,000 and depreciation charged after 1 year 16,000. So the remaining value is 85,000 minus 16,000. That is 69,000. So this book value means cost minus accumulated depreciation. That is known as book value. What will be the book value after second year? What is the cost price?
85,000 minus 32,000.
Exactly, 85,000 minus 32,000. This is how we can find out the depreciation per year. Sorry, accumulated depreciation per year and book value per year. And we know, we already assume that at the end of fifth year, the value of the asset will be 5,000. And this is, you can see, after fifth year, the value of asset is 5,000 and remaining 80,000 has been consumed over the time. So this is actually known as depreciation schedule. This is how an asset is being handled. This is known as depreciation schedule. This is how an asset is being handled over the time. So now if I ask you what is the remaining value of the asset at the end of third year, what is the value of asset at the end of third year?
It's 37.
37, 37,000. Now if I ask you that if you want to sell the asset, or if you got an opportunity to sell your asset at $20,000 after fourth year, will it be beneficial for you or will it be a loss for you?
It would be a loss for you.
How do you measure it?
A loss by 1,000.
Excellent.
After fourth year,
Yeah. The value of the asset is 21,000, but you got an offer of 20,000. So if you sell it, there will be a loss of 1,000. And if you got this chance to sell it at the beginning of fourth year,
It's a profit.
it's a profit. At the beginning of fourth year means at the end of third year. The value of this asset was 37,000 and it's you got an offer for 20,000. Is it a loss? Is it a profit?
no, it's a big loss.
It's a big loss again. It's a big loss again. So that sorry, you'll you may face such situation. You may got some offer regarding any issues. So whenever how can we take a decision whether we should accept it or not? We need to find out what is the value of that particular asset on that particular date. Then we'll compare it with the offer price. If the offer price is higher, then we may accept it because it goes for profit. And if the offer price is lower than that price, then it indicates that you are in the loss. So this is how the depreciation and the fixed asset has been handled over its useful life. And for charging depreciation, journal is always same. Depreciation expense debit accumulated. Just a second, sir. Depreciation credit. This is the journal entry for charging depreciation. Yeah. What is your query, sir? What you haven't got? Residual value means the value remains at the end of useful life. Value remains of a particular asset at the end of useful life. Say we purchase this asset for $85,000. We expect that after 5 years we can sell this asset or what remains for that asset with a value of $5,000. This is known as residual value.
Sir,
Yes, sir. Please, one by one.
sir, so
Yeah.
will have questions such as creating a depreciation schedule?
Uh, yeah, they may ask for that. They may ask for that. So this is the scenarios. Prepare a depreciation schedule or how you are going to handle these assets over its useful life. Yeah, sir.
It can be done like 80,000 divided by 5.
Yeah, it can be done by basically 80,000 divided by 5. So cost minus service value means depreciable value. So cost
So
is
residual value,
right,
residual value will be given, right?
Yeah, it will be given. If it is not been given, then you'd have to consider zero.
Sir,
Yeah.
sorry, in the journal, you wrote depreciation is accumulated debt credit.
Yeah.
It, why that depreciation is debt non-current asset credit?
We it was done before that depreciation expense debit, that asset credit, but we need to find out what was the cost price of the asset. That is a very general query nowadays by the users, and that's why this policy has been changed, and it is now been said that you cannot reduce the value of your asset because it was actually your cost price. Because whenever you purchase it with a value of 85,000, your document will show you that you have purchased it with an $85,000. But at the end of this accounting period, if you reduce the value of your machine, it will show that your value is now 69,000, but actually it is not the 69,000. The document shows it's an $85,000, and this it creates confusion when the audit is being done. That's why it's been said that do not reduce the value of your fixed asset. Create a contra account. One of your friends have mentioned about this in the previous session. Create a contra account that will be used to reduce the value of the asset for recording this depreciation. That's why this accumulated depreciation account has been created.
So what is accumulated depreciation?
The accumulated depreciation is an account or contra account which shows you how much the total depreciation has been charged for that particular asset. You can see in the year 1, 16,000; in the year 2, up to year 2, 32,000; up to year 3, 48,000. It shows you how much depreciation has been charged on that particular asset.
So the amount, what should be the amount?
This is the amount, that is the total amount. But whenever we are recording the depreciation expense and accumulated depreciation, only the depreciation amount will be recorded. Say for this one, each year $16,000 will be recorded for this example.
So, sir, as the power side for depreciation, this is like debit side. So sir, what will be the power side for accumulated depreciation?
Sorry, can you please repeat? Your voice are broken.
So the power side for depreciation is debit because the expenses
Expenses
increases.
increases. Yeah, exactly. Expenses
So,
increases.
sir, what's the logic for accumulated depreciation?
Let me discuss it in the next session. That will help you to understand the scenario. Hmm.
Okay, sir, no problem.
Okay, okay. Just take a note that by this accumulated depreciation account, it has been created as a contra account. It's created to reduce the value of the asset. So if the value of asset reduce, what should we do? Debit or credit?
Sir, credit.
Credit. That's how it's been credited.
Oh,
It's not an asset account. It's a contra account of an asset. Objective is to reduce the value of the asset. That's why it has been created and it's been credited here.
Sir, I didn't understand one thing. So we do not calculate the book value for the asset.
We will calculate this book value of the asset when we will prepare the balance sheet. We'll show it in the next session. But basic calculation, basic objectives, I'm just discussing about that issue. How to handle this into the financial statement, that will be discussed in the next session.
Sir,
In this,
I also didn't understand what is the contract. What is that?
we'll discuss it in the next session. We'll give you the examples. We'll follow the same examples. We'll use it to prepare the financial statement. Then it will help you to understand. But just for this moment, try to understand what does the depreciation mean, how should we handle the depreciation, and how should we record the depreciation. The journal for the depreciation is same as we have said: depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation credit. For this example, can you help me? What should be the amount of depreciation? Can you remember what is the duration of this problem? Duration of accounting period of this problem?
6 months,
1 month.
5 years.
1 month for this problem, previous problem, 1 month. Okay, so uh, the office furniture has a 5-year life, no salvage value, is being depreciated 190 per month for 60 months. So what should be the amount of depreciation? Journal is saying depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation credit.
190.
190. They already mentioned it. If they don't mention it, we need to calculate it following the formula we have seen before. So this is how we can show the journal for depreciation. It's been done. So far the steps we have followed. Steps in accounting. We started with identification of transactions. Then what we did? What was the next step?
Check.
Journal. In the recording process starts with journal. Then
Check.
ledger. Then
Balance.
trial balance. Then
Financial.
adjustment or adjusting entries. Just we have completed that. Just have done it. And our objective is to prepare the
Financial.
financial statements. And we know when if you want to prepare the financial statement, these financial statements need to be done from a trial balance. But after preparing the trial balance, we have seen that there might be some information needs some adjustment. That's why we did the adjustment or adjusting entries. That's why after the adjustment, we again need to transfer all the information to the ledgers that we have created and we also have shown before in this example. Here we have to transfer it to the ledger, and from the ledgers you will find a new balance for each of your accounts, and with that new balances you need to prepare another trial balance that is called adjusted trial balance. And from this adjusted trial balance, we actually need to prepare the financial statement. Have you got it? Sir, these are the steps of accounting procedure. So it is a very hectic task to prepare adjusted trial balance because you again need to transfer all the information to the ledgers. Now we are going to see, without transferring to the ledgers, how can we prepare the adjusted trial balance as well. So this is the informations given to us. I'm using a separate space. This is that initial trial balance that was given. Then we have done some, this is the trial balance information. Then we have done some adjustment. Then now we are going to prepare the adjusted trial balance from this adjustment. All right, let's see. So what was the information given to this problem? That they have given us a trial balance, then some additional information, and by considering that additional information they asked you to do the adjustment. Now after doing the adjustments, we now are concentrating on preparing the adjusted trial balance. Say in the first adjustment, two accounts were supplies expense debit, supplies credit. Let us work with the first one, supplies expense. Is there any supplies expense account into the original trial balance? No. If the supplies expense account is not here, so what we need to do? We have to create another one, supplies expense. So supplies expense was debited. That's why we are going to record it to the debit side of this adjustment, 900. 900. Then credit was supplies by 900. Is there any supplies account?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we have a supplies. So supplies was credited, so in the adjustment, credit by 900. Is that okay? This is how we have to transfer information. Have you got it? Cool. Second one, utilities expense and utilities payable. Is there any utilities expense account or utilities payable account?
No, sir.
No. So we have to create both. Utilities expense and utilities payable. 250. Utilities expense was debited by 250. Utilities payable was credited by 250. Third one, insurance expense and prepaid insurance. Let's work with insurance expense first. Is there any insurance expense account? No. So we have to create it. Insurance expense was debited by 150. So in the debit side of the adjustment, 150. And credit prepaid insurance by 150.
So there was
There is an one, yeah, prepaid insurance 3600. So it will be credited by 150. It will be credited by 150. Then number 4, unearned service revenue, service revenue. Is there any unearned service revenue account?
yes, sir.
Yes, there
Yes,
is an unearned service revenue. Unearned service revenue was debited by 1600. So it will be debited by 1600. And service revenue was credited by 1600. We can see there is a service revenue account, so it will be credited by 1600 in the adjustment. Then salaries expense and salaries payable. Is there any salaries expense account?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And one thing you can see that they did not record it as a salaries expense. They mention it salaries and wages expense. And one thing we should always keep in mind, if the organization already created an account, whatever title they have used, we definitely have to use that title. If you just mention salaries expense and if they just mention salaries and wages expense, this if you want to keep both of them, it doesn't mean that these two are same. So that's why we have to follow their title if they already have created it. So now I'm going to modify this as salaries and wages expense and salaries and wages payable. So salaries and wages expense, there is already an account. It was debited in the adjustment by 1104. Any salaries and wages payable account? Any salaries and wages payable up to that?
No, sir.
No. So we have to create it. So salaries and wages payable 1104. Next one, depreciation. Depreciation expense, accumulated depreciation credit. Depreciation debit, accumulated depreciation credit. There is no depreciation expense was created by this organization as well as the accumulated depreciation. That's why we are creating both of them. And depreciation was debited by 190. Accumulated depreciation was credited by 190. The last one, accounts receivable and service revenue, 1700. Is there any accounts receivable account?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we have.
Both accounts receivable and service revenue.
Exactly. Accounts receivable and service revenue both are already being created by this organization. So accounts receivable was debited by 1700, service revenue was credited by 1700. So let's debit the accounts receivable by 1700. Service revenue needs to be credited by 1700. It's already been credited by 1600 in the adjustment. So we have to add 1700 with this 1600 as an adjustment value for the service revenue. This is how all the adjusted information will be transferred to the to this column or to the adjustment columns. And after transferring all this information, we have to add the debit and credit columns of the adjustment. And you then can see both sides are same. That means we have recorded the same amount to the debit and to the credit as well. And after doing that, we have to do the we have to prepare the adjusted trial balance one by one. Cash in the original trial balance it was 4500. There was no adjustment, and if you can remember in the last session we have mentioned that uh, the cash account will not be affected by the adjusting entries. So the ultimate balance or adjusted balance will be 4500 of the cash balance. Accounts receivable, debit balance was 6000, and in the adjustments we have debited 1700. So what will be the adjusted balance?
7700.
7700. If you can remember, the lasers balance determination, we'll use the same concept. If both are debit, we'll add it. If both are credit, we'll add it. If one debit, one credit, if one of them are, we have to deduct it, and it should be debit balance or credit balance depending on which one is higher. So for example, supplies 1900 debit, in the adjustment 900 was credited. What should be the balance?
1000.
Debit, because debit is higher. The same concept will be used here. Basically we are doing the lasers to find out the balance. Prepaid insurance 3600 debit, 150 credit. 3450. One of your friend asked us that what should be 3450. This is how we find out the balance of 3450 of insurance. For equipment, no adjustment has been done, so 11,400 full value will be recorded. Accounts payable 4500 previous balance, no adjustment has been done, so 4500 will be recorded. Earn on service revenue, help me.
400.
400 debit or credit?
Credit, sir.
Credit. Credit. 2000 credit balance, 1600 debited, 400 remains. Owner's capital 18,700. No adjustment has been made. Service revenue
12,800.
12,800. It's a credit
Credit.
balance. Credit balance. We have to add it. 12,800. Thank you so much, sir. Salaries and wages expense
7,000.
7,504. 7,504 debit. Definitely debit. Rent expense, no adjustment has been done, so it will be automatically been recorded with 900. Supplies expense, no previous information was there. We have created all of this account newly, so we will record it accordingly. So 900 debit, utilities expense 250 debit, utilities payable 250 credit, insurance expense 150 debit, salaries and wages payable 1104 credit, depreciation expense 190 debit, accumulated depreciation 190 credit. That's how we'll transfer and prepare the adjusted trial balance. And after preparing the adjusted trial balance, if you add both sides, you can see that total debit is equals to total credit because we have recorded the same amount to the debit and credit. And this is how the adjusted trial balance is also being prepared. Or that's how we have to prepare the adjusted trial balance. So, have you got some idea how to handle the adjustment and how to prepare the adjusted trial balance then?
Sir, I had a question.
Yes, sir, feel free. Trust me.
Sir, for creating adjusted trial balance, do we always have to do it like this, like beside the actual trial balance? Or do we have to create a separate trial balance?
Yes, we need to create a separate trial balance before preparing the financial statement uh, after the adjustment. And what happened in the real life? In the real life, we basically use the software. So whenever you input all of your information through journals, basically, it all automatically creates the ledgers, trial balance, adjusted trial balance, and the financial statements as well. But for the exam purposes, you definitely have to know the steps. You may not ask to prepare the lasers, but you have to know how this transaction is affecting in the process. And if you are asked to prepare the adjusted trial balance, you can follow this procedure to prepare the adjusted trial balance from the adjusting entries. Is it okay?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. So in the next
Sir,
session, we will see how to handle the adjusted trial balance to prepare the financial statement. And you had some queries. That queries also be resolved in the next session. Yeah, one of your friend wanted to ask something.
sir, sir, when do we get the marks of assignment?
Maybe after the meet. Oh, sorry, marks of assignment two before the meet in the next by the next week.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
uh, the midterm time, will it be changed or will it stay the same as
Yes, so
the
it will
previous
start at
time?
2 o'clock. It will start at 2 o'clock.
Sir,
It will be 3 hours of time.
I thought,
Mm, No, it will not be a 3 hours exam. It can be maximum 1.5 or two. I think it's in 1.5 hours exam only, or max two.
sir, if there changes in the, I mean, the exam duration, will we be getting a notice for that in the US?
Yeah, you'll get an instruction and with all the information, what would be the duration of the exam, what will be the pattern of the exam, and when the exams is going to be started. All of the informations will be given through this instruction in the BUX and through your email.
Sir,
Chapter 1 to 4. Chapter 1 to 4.
Sir, we will have to create Excel like tables like
No,
instead of them.
do you have any opportunity to solve the problem in Excel in the Meet?
Sir,
No,
from what
sir.
I know, midterms are going to be handwritten.
Yeah, it will be handwritten. Yeah, it will be handwritten. It will be held physically. So no way to do it in Excel.
No, sir. I said we have to like, draw the tables basically
Yeah, definitely
in
you have to
Excel.
follow the format. Yeah, without doing that, you can solve any problem. Any other query?
So
Oh,
can I talk to you one to one?
yeah. All right. All right. Thank you all. Thank you everyone. See you in the next session on Friday. And if you have any query, feel free to ask me on that session. Thank you.
Sir,
Please,
Friday's session, what is the time for the class?
10:30. It will start at 10:30.
Sir, will we join the class today?
I already shared the gas link. Haven't you got it?
Sir, it's been provided in Gmail.
Yeah. Please check your G Suite account. You'll find the email.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.